This is Talkin Bama with Big C. Hi, I'm Colin Big C McGuire. I was a student manager at Alabama from 1978 to 79, and I was very fortunate to be there at that time because those 2 years Alabama won a national championship, which happened to be the last two national championships in Coach Bryant's career at Alabama. What I'll be talking about each week is the matchup that Alabama will be playing, the history of the matchup, keys to the matchup, and trivia, and also be talking to a former player or coach involved in that matchup. This will be the fifth season opener for Coach Nick Saban at Alabama on a neutral site. In 2008, Alabama opened up the season against Clemson over in Atlanta in the Georgia Dome, winning 34-10. 2009, Alabama opened up against Virginia Tech, winning 34-24, which happened to turn out to be a national championship team for the Tide. In 2012, 3 years later, traveled to Arlington, Texas, and went to Jerry's World and played the University of Michigan, winning 41-14, which turned out to be the third national championship in the Saban era. And then last season, traveled to Atlanta in 2013, opening the season up against Virginia Tech, winning 35-10, with Christian Jones scoring 3 touchdowns for the Tide for them to be going away. We're up against the break. Recently, I had an interview with Coach Tommy Bowden, who played and coached at West Virginia, who also ended up coaching at Alabama as an assistant. I got a trivia question for you to mull over until the end of the show, and the question is this. Name a former player or coach from West Virginia who ended up being an assistant coach at Alabama.
At the 36-yard line. Charm is home, awfully close. Kemp will wave and miss. Strikeout, getting over. The Royal team leaves the man at third.
On here, you there, Coach Bowden?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good morning. And folks, this is really good. I did not know this. I was looking up information on you, and I thought the thing said you were born on June the 10th, and then this morning I looked at it and it said July the 10th. So we got a birthday boy on the radio here. Happy birthday! And you're the big sick.
You got me a great present already, being on your show.
Well, thank you, sir. And we're going to have a lot of fun. And the day 60 years ago, you were born in Birmingham, Alabama, and your daddy was the backfield coach or the offensive coordinator at Howard College, which is now Sanford at the time. And when you were a young man, y'all were doing a lot of moving around. What is your first memory with your daddy being a football coach?
Probably the games when he was head coach at Howard with Sanford, and they had moved out there to Homewood. They used to be on East Lake, the old campus, and they moved out there to Homewood. One of those games, and then he used to take us 3 boys on bus trips with him when he'd play. He'd throw us up in the luggage rack up there on where they used to put luggage in them old bus. We'd sleep up there on those bus racks. I think probably at least me and Steve, and maybe Terry. Jeff wasn't old enough, and but it might have been me and Steve and Terry, just me and Steve. But sleep up there in that bus where they put the luggage. He'd get arrested nowadays.
Oh, yeah, you get in a lot of trouble, but dang, that's pretty neat. Let me ask you this. There was a fella, and you might know this name, that was, I played football for him here in Greenville at Fort Dale Academy. Does the name Julius Head ring a bell to you?
Oh, yeah, great running back for my father when he was at Howard. Julius Head. Yeah, I remember that well. He was one of my father's stars.
I understand that he said he was one of the fastest running backs he ever had. A fellow named Ernest Dean mentioned that.
Really was. Had great speed.
Now, after your daddy was at Sanford from 59 to 62, and then he moved to, got an offer to be the wide receiver coach at Florida State, and I noticed the years he was there, 63 to 65. How well did you get to be acquainted or know Fred Biletnikoff?
Yeah, I was too young. I knew he was one of the star players. Now, I recognized the names of the star players. I knew he played wide receiver, but I wasn't the third, fourth grade, right around there. I remember the name, and of course, because of that remembrance, I followed him in his NFL career with the Oakland Raiders. And didn't really. I just knew who he was, and I knew the name.
So really, when you were younger, you didn't get. Now, when did you ever go out to practices when you got older? When your daddy was coaching?
Not really. I always played football and played in the junior league coming up, and junior high, and then high school. Of course, you always had football games and football practice at the same time. So I wasn't one of those guys that went out there and hung around, the practice fields, because I was always practicing and playing. When I, of course, played in college for him at West Virginia, that's really the first time I was around him in the fall when I was playing for him.
Okay. Now, after Florida State, y'all moved to West Virginia, and your daddy was the offensive coordinator. And then in 1970, I believe that would be your junior year, in high school, he took over as the head coach at West Virginia. And the second year your daddy was there, according to the information I got, Joe Pendry hired him as a coach. How well did you know Joe Pendry?
Yeah, he was my freshman coach one year, Joe Pendry. So I remember him well. He got injured as a player, and he actually went into like a student coach. He had a pretty serious football injury. And then when I went to school there as a freshman in 1972, he was my freshman coach. So I knew him real well. And, of course, I followed his career in the NFL, and, of course, up there at Alabama as one of Nick Saban's coaches.
Since you mentioned Nick Saban, and Joe Pendry was offensive line coach for the first 4 years that Saban has been here at Alabama, I read this story, and I don't know if you would remember this or not, but Nick Saban, as you know, went to Kent State, and while he was in school over there, his daddy passed away, and your daddy offered him a graduate assistant position because he heard that his daddy, passed away, and wanted, to try to help him be closer to home. Do you remember that, or do you know anything about that? That's something I read.
I don't remember that as much as when I got through playing, I was a GA at West Virginia, graduate assistant, and we lost our secondary coach, a guy named Jim Bates, that was a great NFL, and the head coach up there, Frank Zanetti, hired a young secondary coach, I think from Syracuse, called Nick Saban. The chance to stay and be a GA for Nick Saban, who was he's not just a couple of years older than I am, or go to Florida State with my father. And I went to Florida State, but sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I stayed up there and developed a relationship with him as a young coach, because, of course, he's had such a great career, and it would have been some great experience.
So you didn't, so you really didn't get to know him that well, or is it sort of like y'all were passing through the night? He was coming and you were going? Is that what the...
Yeah, he was coming and I was leaving. Both working in the secondary. He was a young secondary coach, and I was a young secondary coach. So, but we kind of passed the night. He was coming, and I was leaving.
Now, you played for your daddy from 72 to 75. How was it like playing for your daddy?
It was. I really enjoyed it. I didn't really start until my last 2 years, 75 and 76. I walked on, earned a scholarship, played scout team. Then 75, he went to Peach Bowl. I actually started at wide receiver. Then he left in 75, went to Florida State, and I started my last year for the new coach. But it was a pleasant experience because when I was playing, there's always fear of nepotism. He's playing because he's his son. But we were successful and he was winning. So I had a really, really good experience in playing with him. And, that's when I saw him the most, because I didn't see him a lot as a high school player because I was playing. He was coaching college. So got to spend some quality time with him, and we had success. So it was a good experience.
The first time I met you, I don't know if you remember me or not, I met you when you were coaching at Alabama. And I went up to you and I said, you wore number 13. And I remember you caught some passes. I think it might have been on the winning drive. But I remember, I was, that day when y'all were playing North Carolina State up in Atlanta. I was down there in New Orleans with my daddy, and that was the last time that the Sugar Bowl was played on New Year's Eve. They went a 4-year period of playing it on New Year's Eve. And I was at my cousin's apartment. I remember number 13 catching a few passes that day.
Yeah, we played NC State, and I think Lou Holtz was the head coach.
Let me ask you this now. You played for your daddy for 4 years, and then he left. So how was it like playing for a different coach? Now, you got to start under him, talking about Frank Signetti. How much of a transition was it when your daddy left and he took over?
Well, it was an easy transition because Frank Signetti was the offensive coordinator while I was playing. So it wasn't like a brand new guy came in. We had an existing relationship because he was there on the staff, and so I knew him. The offense was very similar. So some of the coaches stayed with Frank Signetti. Some of them went with my father to Florida State, but there was a familiarity with the staff and obviously with the head coach since he was there when I was playing.
Okay, so you ended up being a GA, like you said, and then you went to Florida State for 2 years in 78 and 79, and then in 80 you coached at Auburn under Doug Barfield, and then you went back to Florida State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, then I went back to Florida State. I, of course, in fact, I tried to stay on with Pat Dye. I remember sitting in his office and talking to him and said, boy, I'd love to stay, but I think he hired some people with Auburn connections, and then and 10 years later, I went with him in 1990. I went with Pat Dye. 1980, he came in, Pat Dye came in, and I went back to Florida State, stayed there for a couple of years, then went as a full-time coach to Duke University.
Oh, okay, and then you got a connection there with Steve Sloan, the Alabama graduate, and you coached the quarterbacks, I noticed it says here, while at Duke.
Really coached wide receivers. I was there 4 years, coached wide receivers. By last year, I think I might have been the offensive coordinator.
And then you went to Alabama. Explain now. How was it like coming to Alabama after being at Duke?
Oh, it was a dream come true. You know, being born in Birmingham and raised in the South, and my father having an affiliation and affection for Alabama, and then getting that call to go down there. I remember staying at the hotel. It was a Sheraton hotel then. I forget the name of it, Capstone Inn or something. Really, the nicest hotel at that particular time, 1987, and looking out the window, see Bear Bryant Boulevard, and you look across the road and see Bear Bryant Museum, and just a dream come true as far as coaching. I coached at Auburn, I coached at Alabama, two top schools in the state, but just a great honor, and really excited about going there as a young coach.
I want to ask you, now, I don't know a lot of people now, you said affiliation, and you're right. Your daddy signed with Alabama in 1948, and he played on the freshman team, and then he transferred to Howard. I think this is real interesting. Tell him why he ended up transferring to Howard.
He was dating my mother, and they got married. They eloped and went to Georgia and got married, and she was 16, and he was 19.
Uh-huh.
He came back and didn't tell anybody. She lived with her parents. He lived with his parents, and of course, he went to Alabama. As a freshman, he was lovesick. He had to come home and see his wife.
Yeah.
Nobody knew but him. But people would eventually found out. But he originally went to Alabama as a walk-on, and then didn't tell anybody they were married. They eloped, and then word got out. But he had to go back. He was too much in love.
Okay, this is a question I came up with, and you have a connection with both West Virginia, which is your alma mater. You played there and was a graduate assistant there. And your connection with Alabama, you was a wide receiver coach from 1987 to 89. How are the two programs, from your experience, are similar, and how are they different from your experience when you coached at both, played coached at both?
They're similar. In fact, they have a great fan base. West Virginia, for so long, the Marshall's an up-and-coming program now, but for so long, West Virginia was the only program in the state. And the people are very proud people, and they really have followed that program with a great passion. And that would be the two similarities. Alabama's got very passionate fans. They're very proud of their program. They take it very serious. They follow it year-round. West Virginia fans are very similar. Now, they just don't have the financial resources up there that Alabama has had with their program, and the success and the history that Alabama had with the national championships and the national recognition. They've had doses of it. Don Nealon there and Rich Rodriguez there, but and then my father gave it some, but not nearly as much as from a national perspective as Rich and Don Nealon. So they've got some similarities, but there are also some differences because Alabama has taken their program to a level that's really unbelievable, and West Virginia has struggled a bit lately. But their fan base is similar. Their pride and their passion for the game, for the sport is similar, but they have struggled a little bit more in the past. Where Alabama's had great success.
You know, Alabama will be opening up against West Virginia on August the 30th. This is a question I want to ask you. Okay, you coached at both Alabama and Auburn. How was that experience like?
You like the school that writes your check. Auburn, I hated Alabama. When I was Alabama, I hated Auburn. But for feeding your family and making your house famous, it is obvious to the school that you coach. And I got great friends in both places. I enjoyed the 7 years in Auburn and had some great friends there, and the same way at Tuscaloosa. They're great football towns, and both of them, again, the fan bases. And I tell you, of all the rivalries I've coached in, I've coached at South Carolina and Clemson as the head coach. And I've been from Florida State, Florida State, Miami. See if I can put this nicely, as nice as I can put it. But that rivalry, Alabama-Auburn, is maybe the most cold-blooded.
Oh, okay, that's a good way of putting it. I think that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I think in a nice way, cold-blooded in a nice way.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I can relate where you're coming from there. All right, you coached at Auburn, and then this was really, to me, you got some recognition, but to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, when you took that job at Tulane, I thought you were sort of crazy, but dang, you went, what was it, 19-4 the 2 years you were down there?
Yeah, at Tulane?
Yes.
Yeah, I got a lot of advice profession. I call a lot of people. Most of them said don't take it. The coach killer. They fire more coaches there than they hire. But it just a woman named Sandy Barber was the athletic director, and it just was a great experience. At that particular time, LSU was not winning. The Saints were not winning. We were winning. We went undefeated my second year, or 7 wins my first year, and went undefeated the second year. It ended up being a great experience and a great move. I'm glad. Sometimes you just pray. As a Christian, you pray before you make a decision. Say, God, give me direction on which way to go. And there was a lot of encouragement to take that job from a spiritual standpoint, and it worked out well.
And then you ended up at Clemson, and then one of your coaches is a real good friend of mine, Ronnie West. I went to school with him at Marion Institute when he played there, and then he ended up playing at Clemson, and then he ended up coaching. How many years did my good friend Ronnie coach with you?
Yeah, he coached with me every year I was at Tulane and every year at Clemson. So for probably 11 and a half, 12 years. One of the better coaches I had, a really, really excellent recruiter. He signed some of the best players that we had at Tulane and at Clemson. And, of course, he's doing well now up at the University of North Carolina, coaching for Larry Fedora. But Ron West is just, one of the better coaches in college football nowadays and one of the better recruiters.
We've about got less than a minute. Tell the folks out there listening to the show, what are you doing now?
I've got 2 TV jobs. I do a TV job for Fox, college football show for Fox Sports South. It'll be on Tuesday nights. We follow all the 5 major conferences, including the SEC. And I do a live show on Saturday with Raycom, who does the ACC Game of the Week. Mm-hmm. And I do faith-based speaking, Christian speaking from January to August. Then I kind of get into the season and start my football work. So I got the best of both worlds. I can sleep on Friday night. I don't throw up on Saturday morning. I don't lose on Saturday.
That's a great way of putting it. Right now, we'll talk about the matchups between Alabama and West Virginia. I'm going to use the old rule of thumb that Coach Gene Stallings, former Alabama head coach from 1990 to 1996, uses on picking who to win. The team that runs the ball the best, who stops the ball, who can stop the run, and has the at least the best takeaway margin normally wins. And if you use this formula, in rushing offense, Alabama was number 25, rushing defense number 7, and takeaway giveaway number 49. Rushing offense, West Virginia was 83, rushing defense number 91, and was tied for number 87 for takeaway giveaway. From a number standpoint, this game is a wide disparity between the two teams, and from a talent standpoint, there's a very wide disparity of talent. So unless Alabama plays really bad or gives it away, Alabama should win this game going away. Earlier I mentioned the trivia question. Name the former West Virginia players or coaches who also coached at Alabama. The answer is Tommy Bowden, Curt Cignetti, Joe Pendry, and Nick Saban, who was the assistant coach at West Virginia in 1978 and 79 under Frank Cignetti, who was Curt Cignetti's daddy. We're up to the end of this show, and I want to thank the following people. Brad Green of the Bryant Museum, Coach Ronnie West, who was able to get me with Coach Tommy Bowden, who I also definitely want to thank because he added to our program with his angle with West Virginia and Alabama. I also want to thank James Crenshaw and Robert Williamson, the producers of this show. I also want to let you know that I have a program, Talking Sports with Big C, Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time. And the way you can listen to the show is go to www.JockJive.com, listen to the show live, or go to the archive after 8 a.m. Central Time. We'll be back next week talking Alabama, Florida Atlantic with Coach Howard Snellenberger as an interview subject, and he coached at Alabama under Coach Bryant on 3 national championship teams. And I also want to say, roll, Tide, roll. Be back next week.